Hello, friends. Welcome to the Monday episode of Stand Up. I'm taping this Monday morning around 11 a.m. East. Thank you very much for pressing play, for being here. I've got a great conversation with Bill B in D.C., Bill Boyle, coming up for you after some news and clips that I grabbed this morning. My conversation with Bill starts at about 24 minutes in. If you want to skip ahead, or you can go watch it on YouTube or Substack. We are live around 9 a.m. East. Thank you for those of you who join the live feed and who often do. It's always great to see you there in the comments. So Julia and I returned from Amsterdam last night. I'm very happy to report that we had an absolutely wonderful time together. I'm so incredibly grateful that it went so smoothly. There weren't any issues, emergencies, or crises to deal with, and it was definitely a trip for the books. Julia fell in love with the town that she hopes to move into in September to go to college, and I had the privilege of just being in her light by her side, watching her take it all in. We created memories. We had some drinks. We got tattoos. Actually got tattoos. I'll tell you all about it next time we talk, which brings me to the fact that it is here. The week has arrived, that it's Podjam 3 in Las Vegas. Very excited to see that so many of you are going to be joining us. We're going to have a great weekend, and I will not be hosting a virtual hangout for the second week in a row. Last week, of course, I was in Amsterdam. This week, I'll be at Podjam, and I will be in person with a lot of you, however, on Thursday night. But you can definitely get a virtual ticket to Podjam for the podcast tapings. So if you want to join them virtually, if you can't make it to Vegas, obviously, I want to push and promote that this week. The virtual ticket to Podjam. You can join us live for the podcast tapings, where people will be there at the venue that we've chosen, this restaurant bar in Henderson, Nevada. And so look to the show notes for the ticket that you can purchase to join us virtually. And if you can't find it in the show notes, then just email me at standupwithpete@gmail.com and I will send it to you. Okay, let's get to those headlines and clips, and then my conversation with Bill Boyle. And I should be live with CNBC's Ron Insana today around 2 p.m. East, after the madman leading our country in the free world gives another one of his crazy press conferences, which is scheduled for 1 p.m. East today. Of course, this press conference follows one of his craziest, most unhinged posts of all time, a lot of people are saying, and even someone like Alex Jones and many on the right who supported him for a long time are saying he's absolutely lost it and he's crazy. He warned yesterday, of course, Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz in a foul-mouthed social media post where he said, I'm going to have to repeat it, Tuesday will be power plant day and bridge day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There'll be nothing like it. Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. President Donald J. Trump. He said, praise be to Allah, and told them to open the fucking strait. The post came after Iran showed no signs of capitulating, striking oil fields and other economic and infrastructure targets in neighboring Gulf countries. And the reactions across the globe to that crazy post were absolutely all on par with each other. The guy's lost it. The guy is a crazy person. 25th Amendment now. I'm sure you're reacting to it already. Also, the Associated Press and everywhere else is reporting that Iran today rejected the latest ceasefire proposal and instead said it wants a permanent end to the war, as Trump's ultimatum loomed within hours. The Iran's state-run news agency said that Tehran had conveyed its response through Pakistan, which is a key mediator. We won't merely accept a ceasefire. We only accept an end of the war with guarantees that we won't be attacked again. Of course, our madman Gasolini is demanding that we open the Strait of Hormuz. He also just said it'll open naturally, like COVID would go away naturally. Remember that? Did you hear him say that? Crude oil prices jumped early trading after the Trump threats, of course, and we'll see what happens with energy prices. And we'll be talking with Ron Insana shortly after what will sure to be another insane, unhinged address to the world that our founding father is going to be giving later today. Israel and Iran traded strikes early this morning as well. The war in Lebanon, Israel's invasion and taking of land in Lebanon continues. More deaths on both sides over the weekend. Israel is threatening Iranian officials as mediators are trying to buy more time. And so there was a 45-day ceasefire offer proposal that came from Steve Witkoff, the U.S. Mideast envoy, who seems to be doing a really great job, but they've rejected it, as far far as I can tell. Israel's foreign ministry spokesman told journalists that messages were being exchanged with mediators, but that negotiations are entirely incompatible with ultimatums, crimes, and threats of war crimes. Meanwhile, explosions boomed in Tehran. Low-flying jets could be heard for hours. Israel's defense minister vows to keep targeting top-ranking Iranian officials, saying, "We will continue to hunt them down one by one." Israel's military later said it struck 3 Tehran airports overnight, hitting dozens of helicopters and aircraft it said belonged to the Iranian Air Force. A resident in Tehran told the Associated Press, "Constantly there is sound of bombs, air defenses, drones, at least one recent attack near her home." We've got to think about the people who were bombing as much as possible, keep them on our minds, and understand that they're innocent people that are caught in this war of choice by General Eisenhower himself. More than 1,900 people have been killed in Iran since the war began. The government has not updated that toll for days. More than 1,400 people have been killed in Lebanon, and more than 1 million people have been displaced there. 11 Israeli soldiers have died there. Gulf Arab states and the occupied West Bank, more than 24 people have died, while 23 have been reported dead in Israel. 13 U.S. service members have been killed. Untold billions have been spent already. That is today's war report, and there is, believe it or not, other news stories. I've got them for you. Apparently, ICE agents have detained the wife of a newlywed Army staff sergeant on a military base. That's right. They went after the newlywed wife of an Army staff sergeant and detained her. It's crazy. Also, new video footage of the shooting of a Venezuelan immigrant in Minneapolis from this past winter, contradicting an ICE agent's version of the confrontation, which is shocking. I can't believe they lied about what happened. In his first Easter address, Pope Leo called for peace and said the world is growing, quote, accustomed to violence. More about his first Easter address. Read it anywhere. The government in China tightened rules on drone use, says there's now a total ban in Beijing. Wonder what that's about. In Libya, more than 70 migrants trying to reach Europe were feared dead after their boat capsized off the country's coast. Early this morning, Artemis 2 will enter the lunar sphere as sphere of influence. They're headed into the moon's sphere of influence. Must be nice. The pull of the moon's gravity becomes stronger than Earth's, is what that means. And NASA families, Savannah Guthrie set to return to the Today Show this morning. She'd taken, obviously, a leave after helping search for her abducted mother who still remains missing. And those are all of the headlines that I've gathered for you here on a Monday morning at the beginning of April. And now I just have a few clips I want to share with you. First of all, our friend Susie Haveman in New Mexico, who unfortunately won't be joining us for Podjam, sent, though, me this link to a very funny song I wanted to share with you. The video is even better. You got to watch the video. But this is from a channel, organization, whatever, called MAGA Country on YouTube, and I think everywhere else. And again, the video is even funnier, but I feel like the lyrics are great. And I like to start with some comedy, and this is all making fun of and taking shots at the evil, awful Stephen Miller. Thank you, Susie. This gave me a good laugh. Hopefully people like it.
Of all the tales worth telling, there's a sad one left to tell. About a man who most would say ascended straight from hell.
His disposition's rotten, he couldn't make a flower cry. Stephen Miller is a hateful kind of guy.
Stephen Miller is an asshole. He's an asshole. Stephen Miller is a twat. He's a twat. Stephen Miller is a million things a decent man is not. Decent man is not. Stephen Miller is a douchebag. He's a douchebag. Stephen Miller is a turd. He's a turd. Stephen Miller is a dirty word.
Obviously, Greenland should be part of the United States.
Yes, his head looks like a penis, and his face looks like he died. His sneer belongs to Satan. It's an evil kind of snide.
He's trying to save America from anyone who's brown. Stephen Miller is the meanest guy in town. Stephen Miller is an asshole. He's an asshole. Stephen Miller is a twat. He's a twat. Stephen Miller is a million things a decent man is not. He's a man who's not. Stephen Miller is a douchebag. He's a douchebag. Stephen Miller is a turd. He's a turd. Stephen Miller is a dirty word. When history writes her story, he's the one who'll make it weep. As he slinks between the pages with his special brand of creep.
He hates the It's 'cause he says they bring us down.
But boom or bust, he's really just a rootin' tootin' clown. Stephen Miller is an asshole. He's an asshole. Stephen Miller is a twat. He's a twat. Stephen Miller is a million things a decent man is not. Decent man is not. Stephen Miller is a douchebag. He's a douchebag. Stephen Miller is a turd. He's a turd. Stephen Miller is a nerdy, dirty word.
The United States of America is running Venezuela. By definition, that's true. Jake, we live in a we live in a world in which you can...
do shut up.
All right, there you go. MAGA country. Go watch it as well as listen to it. It's even funnier when you watch it. I think I said that 8 times. Okay, so now let's go to two upsetting people talking, two assholes talking to each other. This is the resident anti-woman sexist misogynist in chief, the 7 o'clock hour host. It's Jesse Waters, insufferable, punchable face. But he's talking to Todd Blanche, who's the new acting attorney general. And even Jesse, the only reason I'm playing you this is that even Jesse Waters is not buying Todd Blanche's defense of the whole Epstein files case up until now. So even Jesse Waters on Fox News knows that Todd Blanche is full of it.
I don't know. I wasn't part of the original prosecution team. Neither was Attorney General Bondi. And I can tell you this. There's only one president that's held Mr. Epstein accountable, and that's Donald J. Trump. During his first administration, that was the administration that prosecuted him, and during this administration, it's the administration that's been totally transparent and released all the files. And no matter how much criticism people want to make about the Epstein files, that is indisputable. It's undisputable that nobody talked about the Epstein files for 4 years during Biden. 4 years. And so when President Trump said, let's release the Epstein files, and the law was passed that allowed us to legally do it, we did it.
Okay. I'm not sure you totally get what people feel about that, but I want to move on.
Yeah, well, good luck. Good luck, Todd Blanche. I think that's going to be only getting worse for them, as is everything else, including Pam Bondi's future, because Pam Bondi has been fired like a dog, but she still actually has to testify. She's been subpoenaed by the House Oversight Committee. Here is Congressman Robert Garcia talking about it on CNN.
What do you expect will happen with the subpoena now?
Well, she has to comply with the subpoena. I mean, after that appearance from a couple of weeks ago, Chairman Comer reaffirmed the subpoena was still in place. It's legal. It was voted in a bipartisan way. All Democrats, a handful of Republicans. And that subpoena, by the way, is very clear that Pam Bondi is to appear in front of our committee in just under 2 weeks, whether she is Attorney General or not. The subpoena is for her. And so she now has an opportunity, which is incredibly important, to address a committee about the Epstein files, about the failures of that investigation. But she also has an opportunity now to give us 100% the truth and the facts under oath. And I think that's going to be an important moment. We look forward to her testimony.
I wanted to share this clip with you. You might have already heard it, but that's Robert Garcia, of course, the Democratic congressman. But here's a Republican congressman from New Jersey saying that, prices are going to go up. It means New Jerseyans are just going to have to get another job. This guy's name is Jeff Drew. I don't know if anybody knew he was listening.
The list goes on and on of all the things. Our gas tax automatically increases in New Jersey. And by the way, so do our tolls and our fees automatically increase. All of that. Now we're going to have on top of that, and I'm talking to my folks in New Jersey, my state, you better just keep breaking your back and working hard, maybe get yet another job.
All right, just get another job, says Republican Congressman Jeff Drew. And now, I hate to play this for you, but this is the craziest guy in the world, Alex Jones, who's saying that Trump is crazier than him and has lost it. And this is all about, this is from yesterday, Alex Jones sitting in his car, just had to make this recording with his weird, fake, gravelly voice. He had to make this video just denouncing Trump's unhinged post on Easter Sunday. I'll only make you suffer through like 90 seconds of it, but I think it is important.
So my Easter message to everyone in America and across the world is one of humanity coming together, one of loving God, one of thanking God for sending his only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, to redeem us and pay for our sins, and that Jesus is King and that Jesus is risen. And I saw Trump's Easter message to Iran about, open the strait, you crazy bastards, or I'm blowing up your bridges and power plants today, which they did. and then using that, F word, and then talking about Allah, praise Allah, Allah's great or whatever. Number one, just from a psychological perspective, when Trump killed the mullah, which Israel told him to do, they said that would make him give up. That's the opposite of making him give up. And blowing up their bridges and power plants, it just hurts the citizens, just unified them. So just from a military perspective, it's horrible win the hearts and minds. Our military did act like this in the past with their rhetoric. And it's super bad news. And this is not the old Trump. It's one thing if he says fuck on the campaign trail or whatever. I do that too. But on Easter, with messages about Allah Akbar and give up, you crazy effers, they're not going to. And they've closed the strait. It's killing the economy. America's sinking global rankings of likability. It's just not what we voted for. And we've never seen rhetoric out of presidents like this when we go to war, even if you're for this war. This is really bad PR, folks. This is what I'm talking about, the way Trump's behaving. Way more erratic. His speech, is not coherent all the time. You can't deny this is happening. So yesterday I gave you the good news that he didn't fire Tulsi Gabbard and that he's looking to put Ed Martin in. That doesn't mean I back what Trump's doing. I'm trying to salvage something and before the midterms and just, hope that we can get Trump to pull out of this war. So I'm trying to get as much public awakening to this and pressure as I can, but I don't have a lot of hope. But MTG had a great post about it, and I posted her comment and Trump's post below this, but this is not a Christ-like Easter message. And I'm just really worried about Trump. Pray for President Trump.
Yeah, I'm worried about Trump. Pray for President Trump. This does not seem Christ-like. The least Christ-like guy in the world. Just posing as a virtuous Christian. Awful, awful human being. Calling a guy even worse than him what he is. All right, let's go to MS Now. Journalists reporting from the Middle East in Dubai. It's a reaction from the Middle East to Trump's unhinged post on Easter Sunday. MS Now journalist Inzaman Rashid reports.
We begin with MS Now contributor Inzaman Rashid from Dubai. So, Inzaman, let's talk about the very strong language from President Trump this morning. What kind of reaction are you hearing from Iran?
Alex, it's an astonishing message with expletive-riddled language from the president. And look, it's not something that we're not used to. We've seen messages of a similar nature in the past, but I think for this conflict in particular, which has played out so much online, the rhetoric between the US and Iran has been immense over the last 5 weeks, and even prior to this conflict actually beginning. But this, I think, has taken it to a new level, and we know that because of the reaction from not just inside of Iran, but also the wider region as well. Earlier today, I was speaking to a very senior UAE official. I'd actually sent them a screenshot of President Trump's Truth Social message, and their first reaction, well, this is surely not real. That they were adamant that this was fake, had been doctored or something, but no, it was very much the president sharing that message with all those expletives, but particularly that note about praise be to Allah. And I think that's caused a great deal of offense inside Iran, but also within the Muslim community around the world. I think they feel quite let down by the president's comments there. One diplomat, a foreign diplomat inside Tehran that I've been speaking to this evening, responded to this message, and he said to me that this is deeply disrespectful to Iran and Islam. He went on to say that Iran values respect and dignity, and this doesn't show it. And he also said that this will be detrimental to the Gulf states leading up to and on Tuesday, which is the president's deadline, if he follows through with targeting some of these energy facilities that he mentioned.
All right. There you go. Thank you very much to the reporting from all of those clips, and support all of those outlets if you want. I can't do any of it without your support here. Gather it all. I gather and aggregate the most important news stories and headlines and clips that I can find, and I edit them all together. It's a lot of work. I'm a one-man band. I, of course, book the show. I produce the show, edit the show, promote the show, and research all of it, everything. It's a lot. Patreon.com/Pete Dominic. Please sign up for a paid subscription if you haven't already. You can always update and edit your pledge upward. A lot of credit cards expired at the end of March. Please to make sure that if you are a paid subscriber, you're in good standing. Please make sure if you're a paid subscriber, your credit card is valid and you're being charged, or else I'm not getting paid. And that is an issue, obviously, and was at the end of March. Just check on that. All right, final clip, and like to start and on laughs usually here on the Clip Show. And this is from the very funny, although you needed to see a couple of them, but most of them I just included it anyway. It's SNL's Weekend Update with Michael Che and Colin Jost from this past Saturday.
President Trump addressed the nation about the war with Iran and threatened to, quote, bring them back to the Stone Age where they belong. And in the spirit of Easter, let me just say, Jesus Christ. President Trump's speech on the war in Iran interrupted the finale of The Masked Singer. And it's really too bad because Trump would have found out that Cat Witch was revealed to be the new Ayatollah.
In his speech, President Trump referred to the war in Iran as a little journey because little journeys are all anyone can afford to take now. President Trump said in his speech that the Strait of Hormuz would open up naturally, but if it doesn't, the Marines will deploy a little bit of spit.
This week, Attorney General Pam Bondi was asked to redact herself from her job. President Trump reportedly fired Bondi over her handling of the Epstein files, because the only person Trump has ever trusted to handle the Epstein situation is a prison guard with the cameras off. Also, I kind of understand. I mean, if I was Trump, I'd be mad, too, if someone took a Sharpie and drew all over my favorite memories.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, seen here demoting a black general, said this week that an airman told him the only thing they need in Iran is bigger bombs. Got you covered. How about Kristi Noem's husband?
J.D. Vance is releasing a book about his conversion to Catholicism. The Catholic Church is calling it somehow the worst publicity we've ever had.
After reaching orbit, Artemis II astronaut Victor Glover sent a message back to Earth saying, trust us, you look amazing. You look beautiful. Yeah, leave it to the black astronaut to catcall the entire planet.
According to reports, Iranian hackers are launching sophisticated cyber attacks on hospitals and healthcare organizations. But the joke's on them because our healthcare system is so busted that nobody noticed.
President Trump posted plans for his presidential library in Miami, which would be a massive golden skyscraper with a golden escalator and a golden statue of Trump, as predicted in the book of Revelations. President Trump attended the opening night of Chicago at the Kennedy Center, and I think that's cool that the president is going to the theater. I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
A top FEMA official revealed in an interview that he once mysteriously teleported to a Waffle House 50 miles away, which is a phenomenon better known as drunk driving.
All right, there you go. Colin Jost and Michael Che, Saturday Night Live. Very funny, as always. Now let's get to my guest today. It's Bill Boyle. We like to talk to him at the beginning of the week and have since this war started in Iran. He is really well-spoken and researched and articulates himself well and has a wide, nuanced range on things. And he's not a pundit or a commentator trying to make a name for himself or make a living. But you should follow him on Blue Sky, where he posts a lot at Bill B in D.C. on Threads as well. Facebook friend him, and if you're in DC, look him up. You can watch this conversation, like I said, on YouTube or Substack, where you should also subscribe at Stand Up with Pete. Let's do it right now with Bill Boyle. There we are with Bill Boyle, Bill B in DC. It is Monday morning, and I'm very happy to see you. Thank you for joining me to help me understand what happened over the weekend and during the past week here in our beloved United States of America.
Yes.
As well
happy
as
to be here. Appreciate it.
Looking ahead as to what might happen, including our soft-brained president giving some kind of an address this afternoon. Did you know that was planned for, I think, 1 o'clock today? They're promoting it.
No, yeah, it was like sort of being popped up before I went to bed last night, but I just got up a few minutes ago. So.
Well, a lot to talk about, obviously, with you today. But, yesterday was Easter Sunday, and the commander in thief went on social media and made a horrific post that I don't even want to really repeat, threatening the Iranian people and then saying, praise be to Allah. And I can't imagine the kind of damage that does, but it was deeply offensive, obviously, to every practicing Muslim or even non-practicing or just all of us across the world. What do you make of that deranged post by the president and what it means for anything?
So according to what I understand, Trump himself was slowly riding around in a limousine in D.C. yesterday. He had been scheduled for like 3 Easter masses he was supposed to go to or something, which surprised me actually alone. But he was going through like Arlington and looking at where he wants to put the big Triumph, the Arc de Triomphe up in Arlington or near Arlington. He was like going by Trump Hotel. Like he was slowly cruising D.C. in a limousine, which he never does. It was a very weird day, I suspect, in the Trump White House. And as far as the post goes, that post isn't just offensive to Muslims. That post is offensive to Catholics, to Christians, to anyone who is not a total sociopath who has a bit of a religious bent. It's the holiest day of the Catholic year. It is, or the Christian year, using Allah like that in this sort of obviously disrespectful way. And he basically says he wants to rain hell down in the name of God on Easter. That is as cynically, irreligiously anti-Christian a message as it is possible to make on one of the holiest holidays of Christianity in the year. It's disgusting. In addition, it is him saying that he's going to commit a war crime, right? Bombing water plants and bombing power plants is a war crime, like without question. He'll get the lawyers to write up something that gives the U.S. military a fig leaf to do it if they choose to go forward. But by any standard, when you're just attacking things like water plants without any sense of it having actual military utility, that's what a war crime is by definition. So it's a really gross and weird thing. Then on top of that, it is a really perfect sign of the strategic and military cul-de-sac that he's driven into.
Yeah, well, that's what I wanted to ask you about next, the strategic, military, and what cul-de-sac? But I wanted to ask you about military strategy.
It's all the sacks, Pete. It's all the sacks.
It's all the cul-de-sacs because the military, you had 3 aircraft shot down in one day and 2 pilots ejecting from an F-15 and a dramatic rescue and the rescuers getting shot up. And then there's this kind of celebration of obviously of the aviator being rescued by special forces. But then it almost looks like America is amazing, and it's the Top Gun Maverick, which had more planning than anything Trump does. Yeah. But the bottom line is it's almost like it's the constant pattern of setting a fire and then putting it out and asking for an award and the attention. What do you make of the military strategy and specifically that scenario where so many aircraft were shot down over a month into this war, which was supposed to last a few days?
Let's start with the second thing first. All of those losses that we took getting that pilot back, and thank God that pilot is back. Especially thank God that pilot is back because Trump and our Secretary of Defense have continually talked about no quarter. We're not going to take any quarter. We're going to kill, crush, and burn. The way that Hegseth and Trump have been talking.
And hold on. The point of that is when that rhetoric is coming from the top military people, right, you can expect that same treatment to our members who have been captured by the enemy. If our leaders are saying that, then you can't blame the enemy for doing that to us. I'm not sure that was obvious.
Precisely where I was going. That's precisely where I was going.
I'm sorry.
That pilot was in worse danger, far worse danger, because of the behavior and language of the people leading this war. If leading this war is a way that you could feel comfortable describing what they're doing. On top of that, because there's no real there's no military strategy now to bomb Iran into a place where they are going to agree to what we want, which would be to give up their military and their nuclear weapons, regime change, and secure the Strait of Hormuz, which people shouldn't forget. That's what these folks said this war was going to accomplish. This war right now is down to just hopefully keeping Iran from setting up what somebody is calling an Ayatollah booth in the Strait of Hormuz to charge everyone $2 million a ship to go through. So their military strategy has collapsed. The goals they originally aimed for are not going to happen. At minimum, we're going to get something back that we already had before the war. At most, we're going to get back something we already had before the war began, which would be free passage of the Strait of Hormuz. And that itself is not even looking likely. So the military strategy is dead. There's the goals we set out to achieve are not going to be achieved. We're going to end up in a worse place than before we started. And these guys have no way out except they think they can continue to bomb and bomb and bomb and bomb. And eventually will bomb enough that the Iranians will fall apart and say, oh, okay, Uncle Sam's great. We're going to put in someone. I mean, think about what they wanted. Can you imagine right now the Iranians saying, we found somebody Trump likes. We're going to put them in control of the Iranian military and government. We're going to get rid of all the Ayatollahs. We're going to give you a percentage of our oil revenue. We're going to open the Strait of Hormuz. Like, that is an absolute fantasy at this point. So failure has happened. It's already over in those terms. The issue that I see right now that I think is almost a bit terrifying is that Trump's connection to reality has really declined, but his consciousness of losing has not. And so when you see what he's saying, he keeps on saying, I'll give him a day, I'll give him a day, I'll give him 2 more days. But what he's really walking up to is that he has no choice if he wants to win in his brain, unless he escalates. And I think he's going to escalate to bombing a power plant or 2 at minimum. That's going to happen, I think, at this point. And then if that doesn't work, where do you go from there? So you bomb all their power plants and the Iranians say, fuck you, and they keep fighting, which they will be able to do. Where do you go from there? What's the next step on the train? And the next stop on that train is nuclear weapons. And I think that Trump is much closer to that than Putin ever was in the war in Ukraine. And I think it's an extremely dangerous thing. There are rumblings around. There was somebody posted something, a reporter posted something about talking to Trump where he was alluding to nuclear weapons. And I think his lack of empathy for regular people, his malignant, narcissism will, unless cooler heads or heads that are not completely insane get involved, we could end up in a position where the United States is actually even just threatening to drop a nuke. And I think that we're not far from that.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that that's your analysis. You're not known for hyperbole or exaggeration or trying to in any way scare people.
No, I mean, I just think that it's the logical outcome of
escalation.
What they're doing now isn't going to work.
Yeah.
And they are desperate for something that will. And, this has a whole domestic political, place that we haven't even talked about or outcome or effect that we haven't talked about. And
let's definitely come back to that. But let's just recap here by looking at 6 weeks into this war, 5 weeks. What are we? Just over 30 days. How many days has it been? The costs versus the benefits of this absolutely mad, insane war of choice, which will go down in history as the worst, I'm guessing, foreign policy blunder that divided America, separated us from all of our friends in the world, and created a ripple effect on energy prices that no one could ignore. What are the costs and benefits of this mad war of choice so far?
Financial terms, more than $1 billion a day, easily more than $200 billion. In terms of readiness for, say, a war over Taiwan, it's burned through, I think, more than a quarter to a third of all of our missile stocks that are hard to replace. It'll take years to replace. It has, again, pulled American attention back to the Middle East, which is where our actual strongest strategic interests don't lie. Iran, for us, is not a vital interest. It is for Israel. And I'm not an anti-Semite, and fuck anti-Semites, but Trump obviously listened to Israel and got talked into doing this by Bibi. And Bibi, of course, has different interests than we do. Israel has different interests than we do. And so, and then let's get to the point of, we then conducted this war without really talking to anyone else, but we conducted a war that is affecting everyone else's energy and their economies thereby. And so,
it means that the people that say they're not political, which that kind of response to me always disturbs me a lot. It just sounds like you're screaming about how privileged you are or how, apathetic you are. But I mean, even people who are like very poor in America or other countries that aren't political because they're just trying to figure out where to get their next meal and how to get by. Everybody now has to know who Trump is and what he's doing. Like everybody knows who. Sure. But like poor people in the streets of India that are now paying more for energy and as a result everything else everybody knows why. It's because America and Israel bombed Iran and had no exit strategy, and it's our fault, and it creates a kind of public opinion for the world against us that I can't fathom us ever having. We've lost
Well, it does. It's even worse than that because everybody knows that the war didn't need to happen. And what Trump did after he got into trouble in the war is try to toss the hot potato into Europe's lap and China's lap. So, we screwed up. Okay, here, it's your problem. Strait of Hormuz. It's your oil. You go fix the Strait of Hormuz. And that's the worst possible thing he could have done for America's standing in the world. Right, I'm going to go and light this house on fire next to your house, and then I'm going to say, "Get your hose out." Right, and that absolutely drives everyone insane.
Yeah,
and what it does on a bigger picture, I'm talking to a friend of mine who is a energy expert guy for oil and gas, and he said these countries are going to figure out something. They deal with Iran. They're going to figure it out.
Yeah,
and $2 million per tanker is actually not that much money relative to the scheme of things. So what they will do is say, look, we'll set up a regime. We're paying $2 million a tanker. We'll figure out, maybe we'll build a pipeline across to Yemen or across to Oman or whatever that bypasses the Strait of Hormuz over the next 10 years. We'll spend $20 billion doing that. We'll eventually solve for the Strait of Hormuz. But what they will be doing is a big coalition of countries will be getting together, blocking the U.S. out because the U.S. is now nuts and is not worth dealing with. And they'll go and make a decision and do a thing on their own without respect to our interests at all because we have not respected theirs.
Exactly.
And so we're creating a situation where, Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of Britain, has set up a coalition of 31 countries to deal with this. We're not in that coalition. And you're just going to see more of that where countries just go, you know what? The U.S. is a problem rather than a problem solver, so fuck them, keep them out. They're just a thing we have to deal with. And that hurts American hegemony, and hurting American hegemony hurts Americans economically and in every other way. To your sort of regular person point, I do worry about the average person in India who's paying more for gasoline. But the average person in Ohio is now paying 30% more for gasoline than they were.
Right.
And it is a big smack on Americans' lifestyle.
It's a really important point. And in the live chat, Brent, who I know, says the Easter discussion with my most Trump-brained relatives. They're not happy with him. Why? Child rape? Nope. Bombing schools? No. War crimes? No. They're mad about gas prices. And also, I watched one of the Sunday shows yesterday, and the reporter, it was Doug Heye of the RNC, former head of the RNC, the conservative on the panel, and he said the same thing when talking to Trump supporters. They're not happy. Why? Gas prices. Gas prices are going to be the thing, as was inflation as a result of the trade war, him making it worse. Right. That his voters, that regular Americans, apathetic people are going to connect to him. And so what's the point? What does that mean? Obviously, we can analyze what it means for the midterm elections, it would seem. But what does it mean between now and then? You brought it up.
Sure. So what it means between now and then is that his ability to muscle the democracy towards a personalist dictatorship goes down. It means that people who might take a risk for him might not. It means that
judges,
it's friction. It's grit in the gears, and it's a lot of grit. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene yesterday posted on Twitter an impassioned, bitter, angry page of, I don't hate to say this, I'm shocked to say this, an entirely reasonable takedown of him about the war, about prices, about everything else. And she was like, this wasn't what MAGA was, and you are a irreligious scumbag who is ruining America. Basically what her message was. And I think that what it does is it starts to split his coalition. Not just, there are the real anti-war MAGA people. They really do exist. But it also splits off the Thomas Massey people, like the more old school conservatives that are left. They start splitting off. You start to see Republican congressmen say, this guy's creating a tidal wave that I have to face. I might as well quit now. There's 40 Republicans retiring, I think, in this cycle versus 20 Democrats. And that's going to get bigger. A personalist dictatorship to take over a democracy kind of needs to win big and win within the rules big enough that it can just sort of wash away the institutions that got it into power. Trump is not going to win. In fact, this midterm was a thing where he was going to try to seize votes or do other things to try to basically fix the election. If it was going to be a 3 to 4 seat majority that Democrats are going to win, that's probably doable, at least close to doable. If the Democrats are going to pick up 35 or 40 seats in the House, that probably is not doable. He's not. It just the scale of the attempt would be too much for the Trump people. I mean, the Trump people can't fight one war over one Strait of Hormuz. How are they going to seize votes and everything else over 40 or 50 House seats to keep the Democrats from power? I don't think it's possible. And I think that is what this does. To give you a sense of how unpopular Trump is right now.
In America.
In America, yeah. They do polling of what they call both haters. And these are polls of people who hate both sides. And I got to tell you, given how perverse America is these days, it makes sense. That's kind of who decides our elections. Trump won them by, I think, 14 in 2016. I think he won them by 17 points in 2024, excuse me. Both sides' haters right now favor Democrats by 31 points. So of the people who say I hate every party, 2 out of 3 are voting for Democrats.
Which is why he's doing everything he can to rig the election and take every component of democracy out of it, from gerrymandering districts to last week an executive order that basically would invalidate mail-in voting, which
also is not legal and is not going to happen.
And even Republicans are saying that there's no way. And he's already been sued by states and other independent organizations.
Mark Elias will beat him like a drum in that one.
Yeah, and so will every blue state attorneys general. And, Utah, where it's entirely mail in voting. So, given all of that, we're talking about November, it sounds like, the midterm elections and what all of this means. But the bottom line, it would seem, is We can put all the talking heads away and all the commentary away. If gas prices continue to go up, the only thing that will matter will be gas prices because they affect the prices of every single thing. And then you're going to have employment issues. You already do. The economy is completely flat. Hiring is flat, it would seem. Inflation is up. Things continue to point badly, but for the panic in the White House and the desperation that it creates makes him a cornered, more and more dangerous every day, I guess.
Well, so Biden was unpopular and Harris ultimately lost because voters were deeply unpopular or unhappy about inflation. Deeply unhappy about inflation. Trump has worse approval numbers on inflation right now than Biden did. So when you're hired as president to fix one thing, which is really, that was the one big thing voters wanted in 2024, and you make the problem worse, you're going to get killed. You're going to get killed. And I don't think there's enough.
Especially if you're talking about your ballroom and like just acting like an aristocrat all the time at the same time that people are struggling. He shows zero empathy. And if you were ever paying attention, you would have noticed it. But if you just started, you're definitely like, this guy does not care about me if you started paying attention. So let me just shift gears and ask you about your reaction to the firing of the Attorney General, Pam Bondi. He's put Todd, what's his name in, his own personal attorney, Blanche in, and this is a guy who's a loyalist, a formerly respected, apparently now a loyalist, a sycophant. He can't be the guy because he would have to be questioned by the Senate, whoever it will be the nominee, and he can't answer questions that everybody would be drilling him with, including Republican senators, I would imagine, about why he gave a better, more comfortable prison to Ghislaine Maxwell. He can't be the nominee for that alone, and everything around the Epstein files. I don't know who it's going to be, but first, do you have any insider scoop on him firing Pam Bondi, who a lot of people said will never be fired because she knows everything about Epstein because she was AG in Florida when Epstein was brought on charges, and seemingly some people think look the other way. What are your thoughts about her and her firing? And people are saying she was the worst attorney general ever.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it was a mistake for Trump to fire her, actually, because I think on a competency level, she was one of the more competent people in his administration. I think it's curious that he fired her.
If you measure competency by gutting the DOJ and pursuing his political enemies, I'm not sure how you're measuring competency, but yeah.
Competence in her ability to actually do the terrible things.
To destroy, to smash, to lie.
This is not competency and
just to clear
benignness are not necessarily together, right? She was not benign. She was malign, but she was good at being malign. Todd Blanche is this kind of weird, creepy guy who is, as you have just said, is involved. Think about this. People are saying they fired Bondi so that Trump could get separation from how the Epstein files were handled. But the interim guy is the guy who put Ghislaine Maxwell into a summer camp for prisoners. So, that doesn't solve that problem. In fact, it raises that problem. It heightens that problem. It Streisand affects that problem. I think Trump probably fired her mostly because she's a woman and because he's mad and he knows these problems aren't going away. And so he fired the first woman along the line that he could beat up on. Tulsi Gabbard is also being hinted at being tossed out.
Right.
And I think it's just rearranging, chairs on the deck of the Titanic at this point. There's no logic to this. And Blanche, by the way, is going to come in. He's going to also try to indict Trump's political enemies. He's also going to fail abjectly because the judiciary just won't have it, and we'll be in the same place. They'll have picked somebody. Maybe Rubio gets that job too. Who knows? But there's not going to be an effective attorney general. Which, by the way, they're going to put some clown in at DOJ during an election year. Pam Bondi probably would have been much better at screwing around with elections than Todd Blanche.
How about Mark Levin, the right-wing radio guy?
Oh, God, that guy is such a clown. And Mark Levin,
Trump really listens to that guy who has no solutions. He just screams, "Wow, people should do this and people should do that," but he doesn't actually have any strategy and yet he's being listened to by decision makers, the main one, a lot. Trump told
putting Mark Levin into that spot.
He won't.
Like
he would never take it. He would never take the job. But
right, but it would be like hiring the guy who sits on his couch screaming at the New York Giants every year to coach the team.
Yeah, well,
right. He just doesn't have that.
No. So the other big firing, though, that people aren't talking as much about, I saw a good amount of coverage of it as there should be, is that the Secretary of War, the DUI hire, proving it more and more every day. That I saw somebody say that everything that anybody's ever said about Pete Hegseth is so accurate and so true, from his ex-wife, his mother, to anybody who served with him. But he ousted Army Chief of Staff General Randy George and 2 other generals in the midst of this war, and that has created a major ripple effect throughout the military ranks. Everybody seemed to respect this guy, and he has also, and the reason why he fired him potentially is because he wouldn't remove certain names from promotion lists, women and black, something like that. That's what I'm hearing.
It was I believe 4 African American folks, 2 men, 2 women, who were supposed to get to get a star, and who had, by the way, as the Joint Chiefs described them, had decades of exemplary service. And Hegseth didn't want them to get their star, in part because he said he didn't want the president to have to stand up there with a black woman.
That's alleged reporting of a quote, yeah.
An alleged quote that all of us know Hegseth.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard to believe that he would be so stupid as to utter that somewhere.
Yeah. So that whole deal, it's astonishing more people in the Pentagon have enough quit, said fuck off, we're out. They are stuck though in this position where they're in a war, they're trying to fight a war with political leadership that's terrible, and they feel loyalty to the men under them, men and women under them, and they don't want to. They would feel like they're betraying those people if they walked out. I think if there was no other driving factor going on, I think you'd see a lot more resignations at the top. But I'm not sure I'd want them to resign, honestly. I think it's okay for a lot of these Pentagon folks to stick around and just keep dragging their heels and slowing everything down and making sure they're, when Trump gives the order to drop a nuke on Isfahan, that there's some 4-star in the room who can tackle him and choke him out. Not that I want that to happen, by the way. I don't want the military to intervene in politics or in big decisions, but they might be the one institution left involved in the White House that has not been pretty corrupted.
All right. You've answered all of the things I had planned except for one final thing. I just wanted to ask you about, because I've just returned from Amsterdam, from Europe, where I was with my 18-year-old looking at the University of Amsterdam, where as of now she plans to attend if she can find an apartment in September. So what I wanted to ask you, though, is because you're a well-traveled guy and a smart guy, was I had that very unoriginal observation of how well things ran, how impressive the infrastructure was. Now, I'm just talking about the Netherlands, but I hear this from people who've traveled all around the world. I was just reading about Chinese bullet trains and how amazing they are. And then you come back to America and everything, it just seems to be not nearly as impressive, well as, designed, invested in, and so on. We hate government and government investment. We hate taxes, et cetera. We can talk about the causes and so on. But I just was so impressed by their rail system, especially, but by so many other things in a town from like 1600 that has been upgraded in ways that matter. And I was really impressed, obviously, other than their language. I really enjoyed everything about it.
Yeah, but remember, their beer sucks. So, not everything is perfect in Amsterdam.
I mean, I couldn't have been happier with, as you know, Heineken and Amstel Light. And
oh my God, I forgot about this. That's right. This
loved
was
it. Everybody around me was drinking out of a...
this was your Belgian Trappist, brewery. Amstel and Heineken. You were in the epicenter of the crap beer you love. That's really cool. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So, Amsterdam is I've been there a bunch. I love it. These places are great. But they do have their positives and negatives. I mean, it's always the thing when you get to a place like this that you look around and think, God, let me see what you go to the real estate office and look in the window and read the prices of apartments, right? You're like, this is amazing. And the food's amazing. And there's that first initial burn of just love for a place because it's different and it's interesting and it, does different things. I will tell you, my friends in Amsterdam, when they come here, they're often like, oh my God, this place is so wide open and so green and there's so much space. And, absence makes the heart grow fonder, believe me. That said, I think it's a really well-designed place. I constantly use Amsterdam in my transportation consulting business. The bike culture, they kind of invented bike culture for cities. It's a great place. I love it. I saw that picture of you sitting in a place, having a beer, just kind of tilted back, looking around. And to me, Amsterdam, and I'm going to be in Brussels in the fall, by the way, if anyone wants to see some drunk Irish guy running by, laughing, drinking beer, you can find me in Brussels sometime in the fall. But, there's this sense of like, it's all a third place. Right? Like people in Amsterdam are not that friendly, actually. They're not super warm. One thing we do have, Americans are really warm and very friendly to strangers. Amsterdam is not so much that way, but it still has tons of just places where you're sitting outside and you're interacting with people you'll never meet again in your life. And that actually, beyond the bikes and everything else, is my favorite thing about it. I
did have a guy, I don't know if he was Dutch, I don't know what he was, try to fight me.
Oh, nice. About what did you get in front of his bike in the bike lane?
You would think knowing me, I did something, whether intentionally or not. You would think that. But I swear to God, and my daughter would be the first person to throw me under the bus. I was sitting there minding my own business, and a guy come up to me while we were sitting at one of those cafes drinking a beer. And a guy came up to me and tried to take the chair my feet were resting on. No one was sitting in. And I looked at it. It wasn't even a chair, like a stool. I just looked at him like, what are you doing? And then he looked at me and then he like walked away and he grabbed a chair and sat down with these other blokes. Uh-huh. And 10 minutes later, he comes over to me. I'm just sitting there with Jewel and he looks at me and he goes, I'm not stupid. I was like, what's happening?
Soccer fan.
Why are you speaking to me?
Football hooligan guy right there.
And he just gets like leans. We're just sitting there leaning back in our chairs. And he just gets in my face. He's like, I'm not stupid. I was like, I'm not sure why you're telling me that. I don't know anything about you. I didn't say you were stupid. We had a momentary human action connection where you tried to take this stool, but what is wrong with you? And then he's obviously drunk or mental.
Yeah.
And then I went Liam Neeson a little bit. I went a little Jason Statham.
Like beautifully made, like Italian folding chair and then smash it over his head.
I said this. I go, you need to go, move, go. And he just looks at me and keeps like, I don't know what he said. And I go, you have 5 seconds before I get up and you're not going to like what happens next. That's what I said. Okay. Yeah. And then he keeps saying something. I was like, well, first of all, he called my bluff.
Yes. I was about to say, yeah.
That's first. I was like,
I was ready for the countdown.
I was like, God damn it. I would have thought he would have left. He would have left if I was the beekeeper.
Right. That's true.
And then I go, do you want to go right now? And then he's like, yeah. And I go, fuck.
Yeah. You were drunk soccer hooligan guy. Yeah.
Jewel just throws her arm over me, my 18-year-old. She goes, what is happening? What is wrong with you to the guy? I go, I'm here with my daughter, bro. You need to move on. And when I said that, he softened, like realizing, and he left. But the point of that story isn't about anything other than my mishandling of it by like escalating and him calling my bluff. Like it is me just embarrassing myself to share.
Was he short or tall?
He was short enough that I would say such things.
Okay, because in Netherlands, everyone, I think by law, has to be like 6'4".
No, he was a small guy.
So the short Dutch guys are Some of them are drunk homicidal maniacs because they'll never get over being short in the tallest society.
I think he was just drunk and mental. And but it was.
Was there a football match in?
I mean, probably.
Yeah, because that's the. And again, I'm glad you brought that up. Though it's actually a thing. Like people think these places are so perfect. A lot of racism.
Oh yeah,
racism.
Yeah.
A lot of drunken hooligan violence. Sometimes, like it's not. These places are not perfect. They have their own issues. Amsterdam. How many people a year get drunk and fall into the canals in the winter and are never seen again?
Is that right? Is that a thing? I better warn Julia about that.
A couple people every year slip and fall into
and hundreds of bikes. They find thousands of bikes every year that are in the.
Excuse me.
And the weather is not great. It's gray.
I got to tell you, from October to April, it's cold and rainy every day.
Yeah.
It's a tough.
I think that's going to be
still a wonderful place, but. No place is perfect. Don't do what I do, where every time I go to a town that I turn out to love, I literally go to the real estate offices and like look in the window and I read, like, what if we could buy, I grab my wife, what if we could buy an apartment here? How cool would that be? If that was a thing I was allowed to do, we would still own an apartment in Eastern Turkey that we would never have seen again.
Yeah.
So.
Brent says in the chat, you're a comedian. You've got to diffuse those situations with humor. And in my life, about half the time I have, and almost always when I'm with my daughters, but I don't know why I went that route. I should have absolutely done that, Brent. And in the end,
as a guy who's been in a street fight, sometimes you're just not expecting it and it just pops up and it shouldn't be, no offense to Brett, it shouldn't be incumbent upon you, the guy who's quietly enjoying his beer, to react perfectly to those situations.
No doubt. But with my daughter, I should have de-escalated and I should have done it with humor. I agree with that. But I'm telling you, I've been watching the Peaky Blinders. I'd been binging that on the airplane. Like I thought I was a Peaky Blinder in that moment. Yeah.
It's the worst. It's the worst. Unless some portentous like rock and roll song that doesn't fit the era is playing in the background, you shouldn't try to get into a Peaky Blinders fight.
I had my hat with a razor in it. I was ready.
Oh God. Yeah, of course. Whoever you got the high and tight. Fat
I wish I had any high to play with.
Transplant or something.
The great Bill Boyle, I appreciate your time here on a Monday morning, and it's always great to start the week with your thoughts and analysis of things. It's been a fun month. We've been doing it. So
okay, hopefully we have a better week than we did last week.
Oh, I'm sure we will. So thank you very much. I'll talk to you soon.
My pleasure, buddy.
All right, there he goes, Bill Boyle. That's it. That's a wrap, everybody. But if you're still listening, thank you. That means you're a bumblebee. You listened all the way to the end. I appreciate you the most. Thank you for being here. Always great to remind me that you're a bumblebee. Email me, you bumblebees. Tell me what's up. StandUpWithPete@gmail.com. I love hearing from you and try to get back to as many of you as I can that listen all the way to the end. And if you're still listening and you want to watch live, check us out. It's me and Ron Insana of CNBC around 2 p.m. That's scheduled. Go to Stand Up With Pete or Substack at Stand Up With Pete, and I will see you there and here tomorrow. Bye-bye. Thanks for being here. Be the change you want to see in the world. Support John Carroll. Okay, bye.
That's the time you gotta finally get up on your knees. When you can't see the forest for the burning trees, you got to stand up. Hey, you've been sitting so long, you got the creaky knees, you got to stand up. Stand up. I think you're driving wheels been leaking grease. Boy, you better stand up. Stand up. Well, there's a whole lot more of us who know what's right. They'll keep right on ignoring us if we keep sitting tight. You got to open up the window to let in some light. You got to stand up. That's right. You got to rise up. You got to stand up. You got to stare the devil straight in the eye. You got to let him know it's his turn to go. See it clear and all you hear is a lie. So get up off of your butt, down off of your fence. Even if it ain't a very friendly audience, well, they'll begin to listen when you start making sense. And you stand up. Stand up. No need to point your rifle to defend your town. Just stand up. Stand up. You know they can't deny you what you're laying down. Oh, you better stand up. Stand up. Show your face of every color, yellow, black, red, and brown. This is the place where every and that's stand up. Stand up. Well, the founding fathers saw a land for all. They had to stand up. They had to stand up. They had a keen imagination for a crystal ball, drawing all the plans of a stand up. But all they had to go on was the time they were in, with other causes for laws, and since they weren't even sin, they knew that change was gonna come before the change could begin. They had to stand up. All right, they had to stand up. We got to stand up. We got to look the devil square in the eye. We gotta let him know it's his time to go, and make it clear when all we hear is a lie. Why you lying awake wondering where the money all went? It'll be the cost of freedom that'll go unspent. You can see him flee the scene of that experiment if you stand up. All right, we got to speak up, we got to reach up and raise your voice in every way you know how. Don't be toes up, you got to show up. Ain't no better time to do it but now. No need to pledge allegiance to no wanton tribe. Rise up, show obedience to the voice inside, and listen well and it'll tell you not to run and hide. It says stand